Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to another live stream of Shadowverse. Today is Wednesday, November 25th. Let's see if this really works. Interesting. So I made some changes, and oh yes, I installed a delay that I forgot about, and there's like no reason not to have had this installed all the way at the beginning. So that explains why the little box that changes color as far as the amount of frames you have doesn't wasn't lit up. So there's now a 30-second delay, which for as infrequently as people post in the chat, and as for as slow as I am to respond to anything posted in the chat anyways, there is definitely a kind of lack of a need there. Now, in a lot of ways, I don't think a delay actually matters too much because the dropped frames and networking issue is a networking issue anyway, so it would only be an issue, I suppose, if there was, I don't know, my computer was lagging, but then not the recording streaming software. Like, yeah, I don't know how a delay really changes much there, frankly. I did find out the protocol that my that I could use for quality of service, and theoretically that should be at the maximum amount of bandwidth, but it's still not really. Uh, it's still not really fixing everything at all. So yeah, I just don't think inherently I know what's going on, and that sucks certainly. But we have to just push forward. Honestly, I still think that it mostly is just a case of well, particularly right now, Thanksgiving and lots of people uh, being at home. Uh, so I suppose we could briefly do the accountability section as I try to shut down the server things that might be taking up some bandwidth, which I can't even do that very quickly now because in the accountability section, I spent most of the past 2 days setting up a program server called AirSonic. This is a replacement for Ampache, AMPACHE, which was a music streaming website server, like your own personal music server. Uh, and as I'm reinstalling and rebuilding my servers and doing it all now in sandbox Docker files, uh, that I looked and said, is this really the most up-to-date software? The problem is a lot of these servers in particular are not up to date. Like the software has not been updated. There's been really not much reason to update them, or there was just not any major adaptation to people having home servers in general. So the lack of people having home servers led to the lack of people being interested in continuing development for home server uh, functions and features. You can see that with DLNA and Universal Plug and Play streaming, which Apache uh, did not support, but AirSonic does, which means I can eliminate a different project, which would have been Mini DLNA. Uh, I was going to install that in the long list of things I was going to install, and since that's just built in through a lot of frustration, and I finally got it to all work, I was able to get AirSonic to be both a web server that would handle the that would handle going to a website to stream music, and it's also a Sonos bridge, so it can play the Sonos projects, and it also goes to DLNA products. So we need Shadowcraft, but first and foremost Forestcraft. So yeah, I'm a little surprised I actually got it all working. I think I got 100% working. The biggest issue, certainly, with DLNA servers, more than any other Docker file, is Docker files specifically are supposed to be sandboxed. You're supposed to say, only expose port 80, which is the HTTP, or port 443, the HTTPS port. Don't let any other network port be open. That way, even if somebody hijacked your server, they couldn't then start opening up other ports and accessing other parts of the network. At least in theory, that's how it's supposed to work. You can't do that with DLNA and Universal Plug and Play in general, because it's just not designed to work that way. So instead, what you have to do is you have to make, in my case, a separate Docker compose file, because you cannot have a locked up network, internal network, secret network only. Different parts of your programs can intercommunicate with each other. You can't have all that sandboxing and use the host mode as the network function for the other programs. So I have to, it does work on the same computer. You just have to have two separate files, and you have to run Docker compose up twice. And the two separate files basically have to be in separate folders, and you have to move from one folder to type in the same command twice. It's not as big of a deal as anybody probably would think, but it is weird, certainly. At a certain level, I guess that there's a question as to who would get the message if two ports were opened up at the same time, but it probably is that both of them get the message, and whoever responds first is the one that gets responded to. Or just that the Linux operating system itself can handle that, or Docker itself can handle that and figure it out. I haven't run into any problems like that. The biggest issue is just maintaining HTTPS secured encryptions on a lot of things that don't have that built in, so you have to wrap it and do a reverse proxy, and getting the reverse proxy to work every single time is like, well, 5 commands that you're not 100% sure what, I'm not 100% sure what they do really, but they seem to be necessary. So but they need to be the right commands, certainly, too. You can't just put in 5 gibberish commands, or you can't put in extra gibberish commands. And ideally, you wouldn't want to put in extra commands more than you need, because as best as you can, keeping things simple is the best security you can have, if you don't understand what you're doing. Because it's a lot easier to open the door to a vulnerability than it is to accurately and correctly shut the door on a vulnerability. Particularly if you don't know what you're doing. Yeah, if you know what you're doing, you might get more complicated, but yeah, I'm not to that point by any means. So yeah, I now have Nextcloud theoretically working, and we're putting it through its paces. I now have AirSonic working. The next steps are to get Calibre, the ebook server, to work. I'm going to try to install Webb, which is a particularly unknown of family history GEDCOM viewer, which, yeah, there certainly is an argument to be said about not putting up your family's information on things like Ancestry.com for them to potentially then hand that to the police, and same with the 23andMe DNA. There's just a lot of people out there you don't want that kind of information out and about, and then there are some people that you would want to share that information with, ideally in your own family. But even that, like, everybody's got a shady cousin or somebody. They got a shady family member that they probably wouldn't want to know everything about your family or your local direct family. So after GEDCOM and Calibre, Guacamole is the server software. I started working on that and didn't get anywhere, so I give up on that. Pterodactyl is the Minecraft server and other game server hoster. One of the things about setting up Airsonic is just to make sure all the links work both internally and externally outside of the network. There's really no big photo viewer software. You can share photos through DLNA, but it's not very well supported by, I think, most players. So there's kind of nothing there. There's like no real comic book viewer out there. So, you know, if you have comic books, Calibre kind of supports them, but the only good comic book server I ever saw was Comic Rack, which, yeah, that entire site apparently last time I looked was shut down and no longer uploaded. Just gonna go ahead and put this on the field and then end the turn. And Comic Rack was a Windows server software, so unless I could get Docker to potentially install a full virtual machine of Windows, which honestly might be way easier than installing a full Windows virtual machine any other way. There was also the TFTP server, that the Trivial File Transfer Protocol server that I still needed to work on. And then I was thinking maybe I was going to install a just regular file transfer program if it was necessary. I don't think it would be necessary though.
The stars pale beside me. I feel warmth.
Let's see.
Good to see you, my dear fairies.
Let's do that. See, what is that effect that just happens? It's just an animation, it feels like. Weird. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other servers or any other cool ideas to even try. Backups, yeah. Trying to set up a just Windows file sharing Samba server that could also potentially act as an Active Director. I've given up on the LDAP. I've given up on Postgres. Airsonic theoretically could connect to a MySQL database, but since it has to be in its own setup, the only way I could really feel safe about doing that would probably still not be very safe. I'd have to install a separate instance of MySQL, which just seems like that would probably be a waste of resources. And it's kind of just unnecessary because it, at the end of the day, it's still doing the same thing. It's running its own internal server. Phoenix Roost. Cost half rounded up. Oh, so it's reducing the cost of cards. Ah, I see. Alright, well. Is there anything to evolve here?
It won't be long now. My beauty will it so vile you are. You can't escape us.
This player played really badly. Yeah, but I can't think of too many other services. Here, I can actually just look at the list and see if there's anything I really missed. I still need to calibrate the UPS server, which means mostly I need to plug in the UPS into the server. I need to either decide whether I'm going to get any of my old data back or not, and at this rate it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. I think we have probably... Let's just go ahead and see if we can take a win. Nope. Alright, well... Okay, fairies. I could play a couple of fairies. Or I could play this.
Hey, let's play. You can't escape us.
So is this reducing the cost twice for characters? So like a 10 is a 5 and then a 10 becomes a 2 or a 3?
The scars of frostbite will never heal. Ready to witness my true strength? The world comes to an icy standstill.
But yeah, I don't really have too many other ideas. So, yeah, unless there was some cool ideas, might move on. Right now there's a sale going on for the newer version of the Raspberry Pi for the Raspberry Pi 4 case that looks like the NES. That's Retro Flag's case. And that's a thought, certainly, as far as just a potential thing that if I wasn't already over budget, I would buy and think about setting up. The thing about the Retro Flag case for the Raspberry Pi 4 is that it's designed to hold a 2.5-inch SSD hard drive. I can't believe I lost there. That's ridiculous. So that opens the door to more storage and a bigger projects potentially on the Raspberry Pi 4, which they'll almost certainly announce a Raspberry Pi 5. And they have announced the new version of the compute modules for the Raspberry Pi 4, which use completely different kinds of connectors. And I wouldn't be surprised if that might indicate that either the Raspberry Pi 5 or 6 is going to have high density pin connectors like the compute module, which are these little like plastic connectors with lots of pins instead of the general purpose input output connector pins on the Raspberry Pis up until this point. If that becomes the case, then that changes the entire designs of everything, and frankly it changes a lot of things. And there's only so many other little projects you can do with the Raspberry Pi other than RetroPie that are interesting enough to me. So I may be running out of nerd things to mess with, which would probably be fine. Like, I've got plenty of other things to do. If I can get the server really working, there's a thought of embracing some 1980s mentality, taking all my anime perhaps, and I don't know if it's worth the effort to try and put those as like disk images and save them. And I think you'd be spending an incredible amount of time there, or I would be spending an incredible amount of time there without a fully thought out purpose, because I'd probably never get around to actually watching them. And if anything, I need to probably start thinking about a post-YouTube lifestyle. I think all YouTubers at this point need to start thinking about what are they going to do with their content. Can they download all their content? Can they do a digital checkout? Or are they just going to be out of luck when the almost inevitable email comes in from YouTube that says, we're not going to let you keep your videos on our servers anymore. Because that seems like that is probably what's going to happen, is that we will run into a system like that where YouTube will just screw over a bunch of content creators. Tomorrow is American Thanksgiving, and so as such, I am not going to be doing anything tomorrow either. Darn it. I did that totally wrong, didn't I? Whatever. So let's just go through the video game news. It does seem like the delay might be helping, or the quality of service improvements that I did might be helping. Either way, right now we're looking at a 6.4% frame drop, and I think that number very possibly will go down. We are seeing slight hitches in the delay, having a full 30-second, but it doesn't seem like it's actually affecting the streaming any. Which, okay, that's cool. It would be nice if you could stream ahead and say, I'm recording this at a 30 seconds delay, so we're going to send you 3 frames a second, and that way you don't have to live stream it that way. But I don't know if that's how YouTube really works. See, this guy has like colorful fairies, and we only see these little green fairies ever. Okay. So yeah, I'll just want to finish things, and I'll probably want to fall asleep. I'm still very much, when I'm not like working on my server, which in all fairness, working on my server often does involve me just lying in bed typing on my cell phone, because I'm just doing all the support remotely, which is way easier than going in the other room and sitting in a chair. But yeah, so I'm often laying down, and that makes it easier. For the accountability section, I should also say that I did manage to play one, what became an hour and 30-minute long episode of a story about my uncle, which in the middle of a level, which was fairly long to begin with, the side character challenges you to do something, and I spent way too much time trying to do that challenge and eventually just gave up. And then I'm glad I gave up because I looked at the achievement, and while there is an achievement for doing the challenge that they gave you, there's also a ton of other achievements that I'm just not going to get because they're like, have a perfect run and don't fall to your death once, which is not going to happen in that game. You fling yourself and fall and miss jumps all the time in that game. And then there's challenges to use the least number of electric whip swings, as it were, and that's not going to happen either. Because once again, you're going to use more of those to either save yourself or just because you didn't accomplish your goal. They gave me a new ability after potentially opening the door to stealth missions. Thank goodness they didn't continue down that path. They gave me a kind of rocket boot that is pretty difficult to control, and you have to face your camera in the direction you want to go. So in the direction and upward to where you want to go. So it's very, very easy to just not know if you're even looking in the right direction, and only to find out that yes, you were in the right direction, or no, you weren't. But yeah, that's all I've been doing for the past couple days, and I'm probably gonna not do too much more.
Systems online, engage apathy.
So let's just cover the video game news and move on. It's clearly going to be a slow week. I mean, it kind of has to be. Let's just do it. Put in a puppet in your opponent's hand. Okay, whoa. Right. That. And that.
What is extinction of
And
the
that.
Master.
And then end the turn. So Gamma Sutra has been highlighting this story, this article, the forgotten Flash website movement when websites were the new emerging art form. Nowadays, my firewall blocks probably half of the things that would be on a Flash animation site. Like, all of these websites, not only do they just look weird and awful, but they also are incredibly simplistic and pointless. They were simplistic and pointless even back in the day, but that was a day when the internet was perhaps not as useful as it is now. In all fairness, the internet still is in early days, hopefully, of being usefulness, of it being useful. Like, ideally, we would like to see an internet in the future that is more educational, more helpful, and not just all about moving people over to google.com to search for a quick, simplistic answer that doesn't give them any detailed information, or amazon.com to buy things, or Reddit, or some of the Facebook sites, things like that. Yeah, there's probably only about 20 sites that the average person goes to. I would say, of course, the internet was always pretty good with the porn. This guy is getting defeated left and right here, and I can't do anything until I get a get a victory with the Forestcraft character, which I've been having trouble with, so let's go home. We're not having network trouble with the gameplay right now, which is weird, because we were having a whole bunch of problems with that. Let's try some of the rotation things. CheckRaptor has an article here. Haven emphasizes accessibility by default according to the developers, and here we have what looks like a visual novel with two characters sleeping together. Maybe actually sleeping together. RPG Haven. Oh yeah, this is like the two characters that are like in love with each other. Which that you would think there would be more games like that and more RPG games like that. But often, even if you have like a Final Fantasy element where two characters kind of like each other, it's only implied, and it's not. We have this deep relationship that we have been growing, and we've established. There's often a lack of comfort or a new freshness, puppy love mentality. Which, in all fairness, in video games and TV and everywhere, there really is not a lot of depictions of the kind of love where you've been like married to each other for 20 years and you're deeply pot committed at that point. And the passion isn't as wild as it once was. A great example of that is this TechRaptor article, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory Review, where here you have several of the characters from the Kingdom Hearts games being depicted. And is this a music game? Kind of ridiculous to have a music game around the Kingdom Hearts series, but I think maybe that's exactly the case. I couldn't name half of these characters. Yeah. They say it's 8.0 Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory is a pleasant nostalgia-paced experience, providing a plot recap which fans of the series probably need right about now. Yeah, okay. Do this. The pros are that there are 150 plus tracks from throughout the series history, the new plot content hinting at the future of the series, and relaxing memory dives pay tribute to iconic songs. Cons, some overcrowded level designs make certain stages frustrating to play, a lack of songs from the side games, and certain popular tracks are locked behind crafting system. See, inherently for me, if I was going to try to even understand the long-running mess that is the Kingdom Hearts series, even a music game probably would be too frustrating. I frankly would just like to see a Kingdom Hearts anime. If you're going to do anything, just tell me what the story is that you want to tell me, and let me move on with my life. Okay, what do we want to do? One.
Let's play.
And then this. And then this.
Let's play.
Then end the turn. Let's see. TechRaptor has another article. A anonymous Smash Brothers insider says Nintendo, quote, has hurt the community. I feel like there were definitely several non-anonymous Smash Brothers people that say Nintendo has hurt the community. Yeah, if we look at this like whole image, let's just see how many different characters are in Smash these days. Couldn't name that character and that character. Although I kind of think I know where they're from. not 100% sure on that character. I assume this is a Pokemon. Is this a Kingdom Hearts character? Or somebody else off here on the edge? Yep. This whole image has been cropped somewhat. Okay. What do we want to do? Do this. And then this.
Let's play.
And then this.
Hey, let's play.
And then evolve.
You're done for. So spark, yeah.
But I have more cleaning to do.
In the turn. Black Friday potentially is going to be something that we talk about on Monday, of course. But then that would also be Cyber Monday, so there'll probably be some talk about it also on Wednesday. So there might be some sales. I so far have started to see some ramp ups of sales. I noticed some Lego police sets being on sale, and that probably is a potential investment because Lego said they were going to stop making police sets. Alright, now we're starting to see some instability, but we went for at least a couple of turns. See, my internet wasn't dropping frames for a second there, and then it started doing it. So, do we want to keep playing this route or this? Go ahead and hit that.
Natural for leaves to fall.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's going to be a bunch of video game sales, frankly. I don't know if there's going to be a bunch of good sales in general. I'm going to keep a general eye out around it. The G4 reunion apparently happened. As far as I can tell, we'll look at it later, but as far as I can tell, the reunion of all the old people got together and they played Among Us, and maybe they just did that digitally and there wasn't even people at the same location, although a lot of the screenshots did seem to imply that there would be people at the same location, which just getting people to the same location does mean something. Okay. Do I want to attack? I don't think so. So yeah, that might very well be the biggest news. Is just G4 did its thing. They brought in a wrestler character, which, in all fairness, there are a lot of wrestlers that are big into video games, but I don't want to see this turn out to be that the WWE has bought G4. Although, in all fairness to the WWE, that would be a genius move, as their own wrestling is only going to get so much of a market share. Wrestling's fandom's not going to grow. It's only going to shrink or maintain for the rest of eternity. So if they started like a separate video game element in the same way that they had tried to do movies and made a few movies from using wrestlers, and sometimes that worked and sometimes that really didn't. That's a thought, at least. But you don't want to see G4 inherently replacing all of the Adam Sesslers and Morgan Webbs and Kevin Pereiras with wrestling characters. That's just not going to end up working particularly well. And yeah, we're having network issues again. Here we have a game article. World of Warships Virtual Fleet Week is a spin on an old tradition. So basically an advertisement for World of Warships, which I haven't heard any real talk about World of Warships. In fact, I haven't heard of a lot of advertisement on YouTube lately at all, and thank goodness. Like, I've decided to personally try and step out of that and stop paying attention to ads on YouTube and try to have a better experience, because yeah, that is ideally what I would like to see happen. I feel like it's Steam. Every time it reloads, Steam does put out a thing. Wow. Did I tell Steam that it could update? Let me just look at this. Let's see. Downloads. Let's see. Steam. Settings. Downloads. Only auto update games between, let's see, 12 a.m. and 12 a.m. How about only update games between 6 a.m. and 12 a.m. Throttle downloads while streaming. No, it's not downloads, but it's something. There's something that I've started getting notifications and all kinds of things from the from Steam, and I cannot figure out how to remove it. Or it just pops up notifications from developers and people I might follow. Low bandwidth mode under library. Let's try that. I don't think that's what it was, but there it is. Found it. Notify me under interface. Notify me about additions and changes to my games, new releases, and upcoming releases. I don't know why that was enabled ever, but let's try that again. Still trying to get Forcecraft victories. Yep, I really don't know what G4 could do. In all fairness, them coming back right as a new generation launches does make sense. Them coming back at any time kind of makes sense. They should have come back or never gone away in the first place. But yeah. in a weird way, since I am fairly like negative on G4, but I do feel like there's also a case here to make the argument. If G4 made a website where they said YouTubers like me could put all our videos and they were gonna make a competitor to Twitch and YouTube, I think I would totally be willing to be in on that deal. Like, the real question is, do you get random viewers, or do you then become the smallest fish in a giant pond? Because then you have this whole website dedicated to the gaming streamers that are all going to be competing against each other for the exact same content. Whereas at least on YouTube, you're competing against some other people. See. Next we have a Gamatsu article. Sword of the Necromancer for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC has been delayed to January 28th, 2021, no longer coming out in December. And while that is only basically a month delay, it's a big deal, certainly, to miss the fourth quarter of a year. Do we have anything else that we can say here? Just here we got some blurry videos showing the general game. I have not even heard of this game. I probably have, but I don't remember any of it for sure. I like this animation, but that looks like that is very out of line of what the actual game is going to look like. Do I want to play that?
Thanks to you, I can move forward.
See if we can. TechRaptor has an article here. The Neo, The World Ends With You has got me hyped. Basically a blog here. Just saying, hey, they're hyped about this new announcement that happened at the end of the stream on Monday.
The hunt has only begun.
I probably, ideally, would want to not bring this guy down below 10 until we're ready to win. TechRaptor has an article here. Epic Games announces Fortnite Crew monthly subscriptions, which seems to me like Fortnite is probably desperate for money, as it were. Let's see, we have an article here from Gamma Sutra. Rockstar is turning Red Dead Online into a standalone game, which, that more than most games really just goes to show the problem with every game having multiplayer in it, and people and the developers and sellers of games focusing on forcing people into microtransaction laden multiplayer efforts games, because that certainly is not the experience that I would want to see people having with Red Dead Redemption, or whatever the newest Red Dead is. That was clearly should have been a single player focused, story focused game, and nobody was ever really talking about the story that much, as they just kind of turned it into GTA.
Rain drowns the wails of the damned.
Well, this sucks. Alright, well, let's do this. And then go ahead and hit that. I don't know why I did that. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article. Watch Dogs Legion online multiplayer update is delayed to early 2021. So in this case, they released the main story without the online content, and I did not hear a single person ever complain about that. This is just gonna keep on hurting me.
Stop it.
He's got some kind of ability on him that lets him do damage to me every time he hurts himself.
Stop it.
Okay.
You wanna play with me?
Eradicate all demons.
Okay. Here we have a game on Steam, Zombie and Whiskey. Whiskey and Zombies, the Great Sun Zombie Escape,
My hands are clean.
which looks like it's a top-down twin-stick shooter zombie game. It's apparently we're doing the Steam Awards coming in December, so we can nominate games for the Steam Awards. This is $7.99, English full audio. I don't see anything here that would really... The problem here is the old country, like, hick stereotype just doesn't really go anywhere, and while it isn't the most offensive stereotype you can ever have, and frankly, as an American, United Statesian, I can tell you there are definitely people out there that fit the stereotype very well, it's just kind of go nowhere. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't say anything. So it really doesn't change a top-down twin-stick zombie game much.
To prove myself.
So here we have the Steam Awards.
Fire.
So we could go Game of the Year Award and VR Game of the Year Award, Labor of Love Award, Better with Friends Award, Outstanding Visual Award, Most Innovative Gameplay Award, Best Game You Suck At Award, Best Soundtrack Award, Outstanding Rich Game. Sit back and relax. If you do all of these and review these things, you will get some task levels. Badges give you XP, which they're still doing the thing. It seems to me, though, that there really isn't anything else happening on Steam in coalition with this. By the way, they did get somewhat rolled by the Latinx cell. Like, it either gave them really no positive feedback if you're more of a liberal person, and if you happen to listen to the more conservative right-wing people, it just embarrassed Steam in the fact that Latinos don't like the word Latinx. That's what I've heard. I didn't think it was a gendered thing, but from what I was hearing, apparently Latinx is supposed to be like the non-gender version of saying Latino or Latina, which I don't think that means anything in Spanish. I think Latino is already a non-gendered version of that. I thought Latinx was taking people from Mexico, Central America, Spain, Portugal, Brazil. It was just trying to get general Latin people of a culture that you really couldn't call them all Central and South Americans. You really couldn't call them, you could call them Central South Americans and Spain and some other countries that you might consider in that category. I thought that's what Latinx was all about, but I don't even know. Yeah. But it definitely wasn't a good sale. They didn't have any good games on sale there. So it just kind of embarrassed them. And in all fairness, it seems like Steam probably doesn't have much to show, much to sell anyways. They may very well just not have a fall sale at all. There was a tweet out here that Nomada Studios, creators of Gris, are looking for people to join their team. Apparently you need to speak Spanish. It's a Barcelona studio. Yeah, Barcelona. That would have been a game to put on sale. Let's see what the job listings are. It may be... I know somebody was looking for game testers. In particular.
It might be dry, but it's home.
See, Nomada is looking for a traditional 2D animator, a senior 2D artist, a senior game designer, and a senior generalist programmer, which definitely says they're looking for at least four people to work on their next game. Here we have a prologue. This is how desperate I was to even have games to talk about. Children of Suntan prologue, basically demo, which looks like they're saying it's a point and click game, which I can believe that. Horror, female protagonist, free. They're comparing it to the Nonary games, English and Italian. Is this how Italian horror is normally animated? Not really sure. But since it's a prologue, all it really does is get me potentially interested for a game that may never come out in the full version, or a or just get me potentially interested in a game that won't be out for a very long time. Let's do this. And let's go ahead and evolve here. And hit that. So we do have the autumn sale going on. I opened up the website. I did not realize that it had started. When did it start? Today? Okay. So like no leak this time. Like it's been fairly consistent up until this point that somebody has leaked or been told to leak the dates for the sales, and I didn't hear anything like that. So here we have Avengers are trying to push you on GTA, Red Dead. That's some pretty big games. Here, Assassin's Creed, Untitled Goose Game, Destroy All Humans, Witcher Wild Hunt, which I don't have on Steam for the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, Mafia Definitive Edition for $29.99, Monster Hunter for $20 is probably worth it. Half-Life Alyx for the full $59.99, no. Detroit for $27.99, no. You can get each of the 3 Mass Effect games, or at least Mass Effect 1 and 2 for $9.99, and Andromeda. Here you can get Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 2 for $15.99, and Resident Evil 7 for $9.99. That's a good discount. Anytime you see like 87% off, although that's at 67% off, that's probably as best as you're gonna get. Metro 2033 Redux is $3.99. Metro Last Light. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this
Clean up my shop.
and end the turn. I've got major categories here. Slime Rancher, $5.99, not a bad point. L point, no. Shadow of War, $9.99. Which, remember, Shadow of War also is losing all of its online content, so that might be a factor. $20 for Spyro Reignited Trilogy is a little too expensive, even though you're getting 3 games. It's hard to even really make it make sense there. Here we have a lot of things that are not apparently loading. Cyberpunk at full price. Let's see. Black Desert Online Remastered for $2.99. We Happy Few for $8.99. Titanfall 2 for $9.89. A lot of things here that are $10. You could get Among Us for $3.99. You can get digital gift cards, which I do accept as a way of supporting my service. Here we have a game called Sex Anna, which is tagged with sexual content as popular new releases. You definitely see how a lot of the popular new releases right now and always are the adult anime games. Let's see, $7.99. We already own this because these were the updated versions of Blood Rain 1 and 2. Yep, these were released November 20th, just a couple days ago. Don't want to do Shenmue. There probably is a decent number of things that I should think about and potentially get rid of from my wish list, but I've done that several times. Also, let's see if we see anything interesting here. Legacy of Duelists, $15.99, not worth it. Slay the Spire, I didn't realize I didn't own that. Still a little expensive. Dicey Dungeons. Boneworks is a VR game. Subnautica Below Zero, I'd probably need to get Subnautica 1. Brawlhalla, it's free to play. Assassin's deck building game for $3.99. I don't know if I want to pay for deck building games. That's a review on that. Very positive. Includes 9 expansions. SpongeBob for $19.79 is too expensive. VR free chat. Muse Dash for $2.99. Here we have Action Timon for free. They're kind of promoting software, which I don't really do anything with software. Let's do this.
Might be dry, but it's home. For the town's prosperity.
Okay.
For the town's prosperity.
And is there any reason not to play this? Nope. Let's see if there's anything. Here's a game that's called Epic Character Generation. And it's free to play. It's probably not a game, actually. Definitely not seeing a big suggestion list here of things. I took all the Disgaea games off because I just didn't like the way Disgaea 1 played. And so there's just no path there, I think, to even get to the bigger ones. Slime Rancher. If somebody got me to Sims 4, I'd probably cover it, but I'd probably not play it all the way through. Mortal Kombat 11 for $14.99. Is that with the full edition, or is that you've got to buy a whole bunch of other DLC? That's another question certainly to ask when these sales happen. Subliminal, not on sale. Haiti 2? Oh, Haiti 2? Interesting. Haiti was the game with the big butt character. Just because the creator liked a big butt character. And so they didn't... Let's see. Recover 2 play points. Let's see. Hit this. And hit this.
There you are, my little trespasser.
This guy is immune from damage, so I should have done the other thing.
Home sweet home.
Here we have Raft for $13.39. Life is Strange 2 is apparently being labeled as free. Let's check that. I don't believe that. That's episode 1 is free. Half off on Phoenix Wright. I'd like to play the Phoenix Wright games. Yeah, front page here you have like a giant breasted woman being shown. Although, frankly, I'd also have the adult content enabled. Spelunky 2, not making it higher than that. Jedi Fallen Order. Definitely feels like some games are getting promoted more than others, and one would hope that Steam was getting paid to promote certain games, but also I'm not thinking that there's major weirdness here either. It does seem like it very much is in the way. Here we have Danganronpa Volume 3. I wonder, now that I've kind of seen some of the Danganronpa characters, if they're the same character each version. Probably not. Nier Automata for full price. Devil May Cry for full price. A lot of games here for full price. This might be very easy shopping for me, and it does now give me something better to do. Kerbal Space Program for $9.99 on this account, which I don't know if I really want to support Kerbal Space Program. Mirror's Edge Catalyst makes sense for $4.99. I'm not really seeing a lot of good offers here. There's a game called Shelter, which is clearly an adult game.
What an home sweet home.
This is great.
Let's see. Here's Disgaea 2. I'm gonna get a bunch of promotions of Disgaea 2 just because I played Disgaea 1. Dragon Ball Fighter Z for $9.59. Good deal there. Here's Haiti 1, which is $2.99. And this, again, we'll talk about that.
I did it! I won!
Here we have a game, Atelier Tia, which I don't know why. I don't know if this really is a Atelier game or if they're just using the name Atelier. And see, this is gonna go on forever, and I'm not getting a lot of good recommendations. Truth is, I think I just kind of have all the games I'd ever need. Here's a game called Booty Calls, another adult thing. Grounded is still early access. There's a game called Death in Texas. Needy Girl Overdose. Yeah. This algorithm, maybe I'll finally spend the $10 and get Tabletop Simulator. The Steam algorithm does feel like it is getting a lot closer to what the YouTube algorithm was getting to and has gotten to, in which it just does not have a clue what to even recommend, or there just isn't a lot to recommend anymore anyways, because I just either own all the games or I've rejected all the games. Star Trek Online. Yeah. Proteus. I think I might consider Proteus back on the fall list. There's a game called Changed. It's rated very positively. Let me figure out what that is. Glass, here's a good deal. $1.74 for Glass Masquerade, which is a puzzle game. $9.99 full price for 11th. Weird. You have like completely discounted, completely not discounted games just next to each other. Rogue Legacy 2, which I didn't think that was finished. Let's hop into another game while we're here. Black Mesa is $9.99, which certainly it would be nice. I don't know if Black Mesa though is done. Okay, Havencraft or Dragoncraft or Portalcraft. I don't want to try Shadowcraft. So it's Havencraft. Let's see how that goes. Let's see what else. PC Building Simulator. Is that still early access? Blackjack Math for 49 cents. That might be worth it. Learn how to card count. Although I don't think that's actually what Blackjack Math is.
The dead have no need of words.
Dead or Alive 6. Yeah, it definitely feels like Opus Magnum for $9.99. I might get that. A lot of these games, either that they were early access or they got overwritten. It was some weird visual novel furry point and click game. Lorraine, the Amazon Princess. Unavowed. Let's see. How far do I want to really go down here? This is a different way of doing things, certainly. Like, for the past couple of years, I've been very specific about going through the fall list and trying to figure out what I want and what's been on the wish list and what hasn't, to just go down here. Like $15.99 for Bloodstained probably is the best you're gonna get. $7.99 for Bright Memory, maybe still not worth it. Might and Magic X Legacy is mixed reviewed, although I do want to see what that is. Octopath Traveler, not discounted at all. We have a game called Oni Rhythm. Let's see. Raymond Games discounted. The Room VR discounted, still too expensive. Here we have Epic Card Battle. Epic Cards with an S Battle, which apparently is a free-to-play adult lewd card game from the looks of it. Here we have a game called Succubus and Succubus DX. Siren Head. A lot of horror games, which horror games certainly are popular, so no big surprise there. Yeah, this will just go on forever. Gris is $6.79. Trine 3 is $5.49. Kokatsu Party is discounted 20% off for $47.99. Kind of need to show what these games are if I'm going to mention them. Attack on Titan, not discounted at all. Grenado. Espada. free to play mixed reviewed. Duke Nukem World Tour 3D is $1.99. That's a good deal. Amnesia Rebirth, 15% off. Not really discounted much there.
I go with the wind.
Let's see. Yep, and we see Detroit Become Human getting recommended again, so I think at that point that probably does indicate that I've seen all the top tier things that they want to show me. Shantae and the Seven Sirens is discounted $20.99. That'd be a hard discount. Whereas Blades of Time here is $9.99 and not discounted at all. That would be a hard one to decide on getting, but it would let me finish the Shantae series. Donut County for $5.19 is about right price. Puzzle Quest games, not discounted at all. A lot of games here, not discounted at all. Of course, I'm saying the same thing multiple times. Let's see. This. And then this. And then this. And then that, I guess. Battlefront is $11.99. Yeah, the front page is also, I think, advertising games that aren't actually on sale. Here we have Beyond Two Souls for $9.99. Not a bad deal. Next to VR Paradise Gentlemen's Club, which, alright. Fallout Tactics. Let's see. Second base. Wow. I imagine your list of games probably considerably less if you have the adult content filtering out all the adult stuff. Alright, well, I think that's more than a fair sampling, though, of what to expect. So let's look at some of these games and highlight them. Hit that. Hit that. And then return. So here we have Haiti 2, which in the previous game it was kind of this robot-headed character and with big old butt cheeks in kind of a bikini bottom thong. So now they've gone with like a black-haired character that seems to be fighting some kind of robots that maybe are from the first game, and she seems to be very bouncy and large-chested compared to the first game. At the end of the day, this is tagged as sexual content. Third-person puzzle shooter with a sexy character and cake. And it seems like you're going to see more of the character from the side. It seems like the camera is actually designed in such a way as so that you see more of the character. Perhaps to the detriment of actually trying to play the game. Let's do this.
Donations and I just might save you.
This. And this. I did not realize that's what this did.
The real battle begins.
The greater the donation, the greater the blessing.
we go. So yeah. Haiti 2 can go on the fall list, obviously, because there's no real reason to put it on the wish list until I decide whether I'm gonna buy and play Haiti 1. See, here's Life is Strange 2, and yeah, to get the complete season is $12.76. The first episode is free, and thus Steam really needs to get a different label or badge to indicate the true cost of games instead of trying to trick people. And here's Haiti 1, which is rated very positively. Old school Metroidvania mixed with modern day third-person shooter and platforming mechanics, as well as a sexy character, which oddly not puzzle mechanics. In all fairness, it does seem like it mostly is pretty much the same game with just some polish on it, getting sold a second time. Here you can see the robots are more robotic, and the robot you're playing as still fairly big-breasted, but in more of a tight leotard, same big butt, although arguably I would say the butt is actually even bigger in the sequel. And it looks like a robot. Well, it may be a human with a helmet on, but that looks like a robot to me. And see, that's $2.99, and at that price, that makes sense. In a weird way, this may very well just be a game that is fulfilling the creator's own personal fetish, but I don't know. At a certain point, you just call that a passion project. Like, if we ignored every single artist that had a desire to paint pretty women nude, there would be a considerable amount of fewer paintings in the world. Famous, relatively popular and good paintings in particular. See, here we have here's that Atelier Tia. They're just using the word Atelier, which Atelier may mean alchemist, and I just don't know that word. It does look like it's a fine beat 'em up, beating up these cow bikini girls. It doesn't seem to be tagged with adult content. Let me see if it says if it has adult content in it. Doesn't actually say. It'd be kind of a hard game to justify playing. 2D adult only game, action beat 'em up. It's marked adult only. Yeah, it would be hard to justify purchasing something like that, if not just for my own personal reason to want to play it, like, because there is a danger there where I'd start a series of Atelier Tia, and then halfway through it, they're showing like full hardcore nudity that I can't put anywhere on any service. It does look like a game though. Doesn't feel like it's just garbage. I mean, if you look here, they've got a screenshot here showing each of the different types of enemies. That's more than you would see in half of the beat 'em ups on Steam. That is some variety. Alright. No, I see. See now, some of the attacks and some of the screenshots are just showing pure nudity. Yeah. So, yeah. That puts you in a weird position. I would need some kind of censored patch or something. Like, okay, what else can we do? Dragoncraft or Portalcraft now. Do we have a Dragoncraft? Yeah. Here's that game. Frost, a survival solo card game. Doesn't seem like it's animated particularly as well as I'd like it to be. I get the idea that they're trying to make it all white and snow covered to give that oppressive feeling of Frost, but I think at the core of the gameplay it's probably not that good.
Time for me to prove myself.
Let's see, 524, single player, English, French. I'll put it on the follow list, but that would be hard to justify. See. Proteus, I'm going to put back on the follow list. Well, it's already on the follow list. So the real question here is, do I want to play a Doom game that is very much a Doom game? And I still need to think about that.
Designs are like unhatched dragon eggs.
Here's that game changed. You're trapped in an experiment trying to find ways to make you still yourself, persevere and survive. Animation here does not look very well done. Seems like you get changed into animals / furries. It's tagged as an adventure difficult indie puzzle game. $30.59. Bunch of languages. Players who own changed game body will be given changed special. The special version can be seen as an upgraded remastered version of the original version. With lots of changes, the new version has improved and remade. I don't know. This is definitely not something I think I'd buy on sale. It does feel like very bottom of the barrel desperation if I was to buy something like that. Okay. This.
Let's try throwing in a dragon's claw.
This. Let's keep on going. I'm gonna end up not covering any of the news if I'm not careful here. Okay, Rogue Legacy 2 is still in early access. That's what I thought. So nothing there. Let's see this. And what do we want to do?
Strike!
Hit that. And hit that. And the turn. PC building simulator is not in early access, but then there is seemingly a whole bunch of DLC here that seems to include the licenses of a bunch of PC product sellers for money, which that business concept has just failed miserably at that point. Like the idea of paying $10 for a game to simulate running a computer shop and building PCs falls completely apart when you start having to pay potentially annual upkeeps to get partnered products in the 3D models and as the 3D models and depicted. Like that whole thing really falls apart.
What is not there?
Okay.
You've been chosen.
What do we want to do? So yeah, I'm gonna remove PC Building Simulator from the wish list. Like, that's not gonna work. My QoS is somewhat working here, but not greatly. The delay is helping a little bit, but not much. I'm still it's still just a network issue, I think, more than anything. Let's see, give another one. Ambush, clash gain +1, +0.
I always go with the flow.
Okay.
There's a lot more where that came from.
Think I reached enlightenment?
Let's see.
Stream on!
I won't lose again.
Strike!
Go ahead and hit that. Here's blackjack math. It is actual math. It's not actual card counting. Yeah, now I remember that.
Fate finds us all. It won't be long now.
I think Paradise Killer here
Nature will pay.
was early access. Nope, not early access. Just on the fall list.
Fate finds us all.
So I can pretty much say, well, this open world investigation visual novel game that probably was overhyped by liberal SJW video game developers, video game critics, it's still very positive, and so I can put that on the wish list, although I doubt I would spend $14.99 to get it right now. That's probably a great game to wait a few years.
Couple more holes in that thick skull. Sacred forest.
Let's see.
Ready to witness my true strength? Then talk for somebody. Shut your face gap.
I will also say that
Forest.
so far I haven't heard any like video game journalism site talk about G4 at all. Like barely got mentioned by Giant Bomb when it was first announced. And in fairness, G4 has kind of flooded their Twitter feed with increasing amounts of tweets, but there probably is a level of jealousy and just we don't want to promote someone we see as our potential replacement / competitor. I totally would get it too. Like, I would totally be jealous of Adam Sessler. I probably am totally jealous of Adam Sessler as someone who not only succeeded as being a video game critic and reviewer and got paid for it and got famous for it, but also as someone who didn't have to end up doing what all the other video game journalists did, which is struggle and write articles and play games they didn't really care about. So much. Yep. Here's that game Roman's Christmas, which is almost certainly a Chinese game. But yeah, it's a Chinese like furry game from what best I can tell. 934 English, Chinese, Korean. Is there an actual game here? I don't think so. Wonder if we're gonna see a lot of Chinese Christmas related games. Probably not. Let's go ahead and hit that. Give that one ambush.
Eyes on me.
Hit that.
Wrong formula.
And then hit that. And hit that.
Foul forces of darkness, bow before my tempest.
Let's see.
Meow-wee. Ready to pounce.
See, here's the Lauren, the Amazon Princess, which you would think it might be just like something trying to be kind of an adult game, but I don't think it actually is. It seems to be maybe a Chinese almost strategy simulation game. It doesn't seem like you actually play the game much. Instead, you have just a ton of text and a ton of strategy being shown. It's tagged as a JRPG, RPG, choose your own adventure. It's $9.99. It's English only. And it's rated very positively. Let's see. Interactive turn-based battles with heroic tale of overcoming evil with a twist. In this tale, you play as the loyal servant of the hero rather than the hero herself. So you're basically the assistant slash healer of the group. Yeah, I don't think there's enough of a game concept there that would make me want to be the assistant of someone.
Ow! Oh, come on!
This toasty posty will warm your heart.
Someone call for a med. Bottoms up.
Yeah, visually there's just not enough polish on Lorraine, the Amazon Princess,
Let seeds of doubt take root.
to make sense to want to play that. Tell Me Why was rated very positively. I'll put that on the follow list. I missed it, I suppose. Not sure that anybody's really in the mood to watch or play a game like Tell Me Why, which seems like it's a Life is Strange with even more potential abuse in it, or at least that's what I think it's about. And probably some SJW-ness in it also.
Dragon eggs. Concoctions away. Whoa! You're strong.
So yeah, it'd be hard to justify doing that. We have Might Magic 10 Legacy being mixed reviewed. This is from 2014. Any screenshots wanted to load. I don't even really need to see the screenshots. If it's mixed reviewed, then that just tells me this is one of those Might Magic games, of which there are quite a lot that aren't worth really playing. Right. Well, that one is one, so we can play again. Is that game Onirism, which seems like it's something. Yeah, that looks interesting. How'd I miss this? It's early access. It's $17.99. It's English and French. It came out a year ago. I'm gonna put it back on the fall list, but you definitely know why this left the fall list. Is that it just has been in development for over a year now and has not been finished. Some of these images look interesting, certainly, but it also feels like it might very well be a case of just being super ambitious. A character that seems to jump through a lot of parodies of a lot of different games. And in a lot of ways that feels very much like Yandere Simulator, where there's potentially a developer here that knows somewhat what they're doing, but then they just constantly want to add content. There's a whole like split screen shared co-op in a game that really you shouldn't have that. Onirism is also dangerously close to Oniism, which is the old-fashioned way of saying self-pleasuring yourself. And sure, there's plenty of Japanese games that have oni in it, because oni means demon in Japanese. But you kind of have to be careful with the audience here. The game Midnight Castle Succubus DX is an adult game with pure nudity on the screenshot, so I can't show it. It is definitely weird. It's like an 8-bit Castlevania game. Then it decides to, at certain points, just straight up show sex scenes that are sometimes 8-bit and sometimes not 8-bit, a little bit less than 8-bit, but not by much.
Designs are like unhatched dragon eggs.
Here we have Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour, which you might want to get just because it might not be available for purchase due to lawsuits. It's $1.99. This game is tagged with partial nudity, but I think you could fairly, unlike an adult game in actuality, I imagine you're talking just bikini girls, and maybe if you go into a strip joint and activate something, maybe you'll get a topless pixely character. I think that's about as far as any of the Duke Nukem games ever really went. Let's see.
Eureka! Ow!
See, next we have Shantae and the Seven Sirens, which would be the next Shantae game I'd want to play. It's the next game in the series, anyways. So, here you have Shantae still not being animated particularly highly because the actual gameplay is always her zooming out and platforming. The real danger with the next Shantae game is it going to be like the last one I played, which I can see already it's not? Is it going to be very nicely polished? I'd say sort of lacking as much polish as I'd like to see. Shantae here also being depicted slightly darker skinned than I've seen her in previous instances, and like in the past they've kind of made her look fairly olive, fairly white, and making her more darker skinned, olive skinned is probably a smart move, since she's kind of obviously supposed to be a Middle Eastern style character.
Designs are like unhatched dragon eggs.
Let's see. Let's see.
Eureka!
Attack here. Attack here. Kill that character
The blueprints!
in the turn. $20.99 though is kind of a high price. Definitely a high price there.
Kinda haunted.
And then the other game from Way Forward, River City Girls, that I don't own, is not on sale, and the Mummy Demastered's not on sale. Double Dragon Neon is on sale. My Switch Force collection is on sale for 40% off. Here we can just kind of show these. My Switch Force Hyper Drive Edition, no. Shantae, the Pirate Queen's Quest. Apparently I don't have that. Or Shantae costume packs. Shantae Friends City. No, I definitely think I have all these because I got an Ultimate Edition. My Switch Force Academy. It's not on sale. Yep. So in a weird way, even if I was to finish the Shantae collection of games, I would then just sort of move on to the
Try throwing in a dragon's claw. It's all yours.
I would just expand it to the Way Forward collection of games. Yeah, the last one I played was Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition, which
I'm coming for you.
which included all of the DLC. So they kind of abandoned the concept of
Waste of good.
selling DLC on Steam, which is a good move.
Breaks. Another takes its place.
Then we have Beyond Two Souls, rated very positively. It's on my wish list. If you were to get that, let's see what the bundle info can tell me. Like right now, Heavy Rain is $9.99. Beyond Two Souls is $9.99. Detroit Become Human is $27.99. Somewhat reasonable for the $9.99 of the two games. Although I guess at a certain point there is also the question about whether you want to support Quantic Dream or not. Which that is something that is going to just have to be up to the own personal decision of people. I don't even feel like there was, like, of the complaints of employers, I don't feel like there was much of a real complaint against Quantic Dreams other than like them posting, like putting employees' heads on porn stars and sharing those images. That was, I believe, the fullness of that complaint.
I didn't stand a chance.
See, let's keep on playing. I'm getting distracted, I know. Lego put out this video showing how somebody had made some controller holders with Lego. Not really worth the amount of Legos you would need to make a controller holder, and frankly, this plastic on an NES controller is pretty soft, so I wouldn't be surprised if you actually could potentially damage an NES controller very easily, even on Lego. And what's interesting here is they showed an NES controller and an Xbox 360 controller. Specifically, they're not showing a PlayStation controller, and they are not showing a Switch controller. So in their decisions, they've eliminated a couple of people. That also, of course, they're eliminating any like third-party controllers and the Steam link and things like that, which are not relevant. I would not make a controller holder with Lego, though. You can make a lot of things with Lego if you're desperate, but almost always anything structural or useful is better off not being made of Lego.
Do not seek what is not there.
Okay. Don't think I can do anything. Sorry. I'm actually trying to win here. And that's not working very well. Next we have a game. We're back to games that came out. Is it wrong to try to shoot 'em up girls in a dungeon? This is a spin-off game for the anime manga. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? And it's free to play with microtransactions? Nope, just free to play in general as a side-scrolling shoot 'em up game. These are some of the characters from the anime, which I've only seen the first few episodes of. This is the main female lead, romance lead, at least from what I was saying. She has this armor that oddly just has like this cutout on the one move. That's like a perfectly round cutout, and she's a really powerful swordsman. And she has a whole bunch of people that are on her team and support her. She is not the main character in the anime though. Like, I don't know if there's even a point here where you can see the main characters. Like, these are just more of her party, and each one of them become potential like side characters and female love interests to the main male character, who seemingly doesn't even show up in this video. Interesting. Nor does the goddess, who is kind of the main character of the story also. Let's see.
You've been chosen.
Well, I suppose a game like this is free. So here's a review. With a little more content and polish, it could be a game worth publishing. But yeah. The only other game this developer made was It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon: Infinite Combat. And here you have the goddess character with her boob ribbon. And here you have the silver-haired main character of the anime. But you can kind of see that there are some actual gameplay elements in this game, and yet it's mixed reviewed. Interesting. And then P-Cube has plenty of other things that they've published, so they don't care. They've got plenty of other games to focus on.
Did someone call for a medic?
But yeah, since the first game that we were talking about is free, check it out if you're interested. That's all I really have to say. Deep Silver UK is looking for playtesting, which Deep Silver Dam Buster Studio in particular seems to be looking for playtesting. Play games, give feedback, get paid. Yeah, play games that are buggy and be required to give way more feedback than you probably could, and spend a lot more time to get paid very little, is my assumption there. Like, there's definitely, I guess this game Windbound is probably the game you would be testing, or maybe not, but I don't think you're... The inherent problem always with playtesting is if you've got nothing better to do, sure, make money that way, but almost certainly everyone has something better to do with their life than playtest. Whether that's just doing a boring job at Walmart or McDonald's or something. Although, frankly, a lot of people are struggling. The fact that this is both of those job listings are in the UK is interesting. It does imply that less cheap labor is being allowed into the UK now that Brexit has happened, which was a major thing that I think people didn't really understand or get explained to them, is that the free passage for employment in the European Union created this scenario where a lot of unfortunate people were being brought over from like Ukraine, from the poorest parts of Europe, to then be these not remote workers, but foreign visa workers, to work in the very expensive to live in areas of the UK, which just increased the cost of living and decreased the amount of money for actual people who were gonna stay there for the long haul. And then at a certain point there is a political argument to be made that if governments are to do anything, it should be to help and encourage those who are going to support that society the most. And a foreign visa worker is by just general understanding going to send a lot of that money back to their family and move back to their original country eventually, and not integrate as a citizen or do anything other than pay the taxes that are required. You're not community building with foreign workers very often, and companies are using it always to get cheap labor. Moving on, Square Enix Japan is going to make work from home permanent as of December 1st, which I'm not sure how many Square Enix employees really are going to even be around in a couple of years, but this sounds like a good thing. Remember though that this is also the Japanese employees who are going to be asked to and required to work themselves to death no matter what. So it really just benefits Square Enix more than anything, now that they would have to potentially have less square footage of land that they needed to rent, or buildings. I don't know if office buildings are rented in Japan, but less supplies, less coffee, less toilet paper in the bathrooms, things like that even will be cheaper, while they probably will get close to, if not the exact or more amount of quality of work. Let's see.
There's a lot more where that came from.
The bigger question, certainly, though, is the idea of what is Square Enix working on it besides a Final Fantasy game. And frankly, video game programmers could have always been working from home. A lot of people could have always been working from home, and people knew it. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Cartoon Creds, which looks like a kind of early childhood Infinite Runner game. Looks unappealing. $1.79 English Russian. I'll leave it to you to decide whether it's a Russian garbage game or not. Okay, I'm gonna do this. going to do this.
Stand down.
My heart weighs heavy.
And that. Here we have a game called The Floor is Still Really Cheap Lava, which looks like a low effort infinite runner game. It's free to play, English only.
It won't be long now.
Here we have a game on Steam called The Life of Bali, or Bali, which is a low effort puzzle game for 89 cents, English only. Yep, I definitely was scraping the bottom of the barrel. Here we have Glitchy Apocalypse Simulator, which, yeah, free to play, English, not making it to the fall list. Here's at least something slightly different. Pray in VR Medieval Christian Churches, in which I guess you can go around these asset flipped churches and I guess pretend like you're praying. Yeah. $5.99 for the privilege, bundled together with a whole bunch of other games, bunch of languages it claims to support. Let's see. I think most Christians would tell you that you don't need to be in a specific place or have a specific specific items or anything to pray, so it seems pretty weird to think about paying money just to be in the VR environment of a church. The worship centers, as they actually are called, the church is actually the congregation, the people, but the worship centers don't need to exist. They never needed to exist, even in the Old Testament when the tabernacle, the temple, was mostly built out of tent material that only made sense because they were in a desert and they were protecting holy flames and just creating an area outside of the exposure of the desert. But worship centers are not supposed to exist inherently. That's the true meaning of that phrase, your body is a temple.
Here comes the tidal wave. That's one way to lose a battle. My heart weighs heavy.
Oh, there's just no way to defeat that guy, is there?
You have angered me. Melancholy keeps falling on my head.
Games Radar has an article here. Every winner at the Golden Joystick Awards, which apparently happened and to no real avail. Let's see. There's just a massive amount of things here that need to be eliminated. Come on. There we go. Anyways, I did not clean up this page. They give best storytelling to Last of Us 2, best multiplayer. Let's play Portalcraft. Do we have any Portalcraft characters? Yeah. Best multiplayer game to Fall Guys, which feels like that would have been Among Us if the reviewers had come earlier. I feel like the Golden Joystick Awards in particular are voted by video game critics. Best visual design to Last of Us 2. That's why Last of Us 2 is winning anything. Best game expansion is No Man's Sky Origins, which I wouldn't have been able to tell you that there actually was a expansion to No Man's Sky. And I imagine really isn't much of a difference. Best audio they gave to Last of Us 2 again. Best indie game Hades. Yeah, that makes sense. All video game critics love Hades, and Hades does sound like it's a decent game. They gave a Still Playing award to Minecraft. Studio of the Year to Naughty Dog, which, I mean, I don't even know what Naughty Dog made. Was that Shenmue? They probably were scraping the bottom of the barrel to name a studio that wasn't in some kind of trouble or controversy. Esports Game of the Year they gave to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Best new streamer broadcaster they gave to I Am Brandon, whoever that is. Best family game to Fall Guys. Best gaming community to Minecraft, which in all fairness I think I would agree with that one. If you're gonna say the best gaming community out there, Minecraft probably is a good one. Best performer is Sandra Syed, who played Camilla Khan, and I don't. That seems pretty SJW to give the award to her. I don't know if she really did perform well in the Marvel game that nobody played. Breakthrough award to Inner Sloth from Among Us. I don't even know who that is. The outstanding contributor was the gaming industry in general, which that's a cop-out and some BS.
Biceps will usher in a new age.
PC gaming of the game of the year they gave to Death Stranding. Best gaming hardware they gave to the GeForce RTX 3080, which, sure, you just named the most expensive NVIDIA graphics card and that'll be the best gaming hardware, when I think, in all honesty, the Ryzen 2, Ryzen 3 is probably going to affect and help a lot more PC gamers play modern games going forward. PlayStation Game of the Year they gave to The Last of Us 2. Xbox Game of the Year they gave to Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Nintendo Game of the Year they gave to Animal Crossing New Horizons, fair enough. Most Wanted game was God of War Ragnarok, which hasn't come out yet. Critics' Choice was Hades. And the Ultimate Game of the Year they gave The Last of Us 2. Which, yeah, that seems particularly biased. I saw a link to Ko-fi, K-O-F-I, and I'm thinking, should I have a Ko-fi account or not? So if anybody wants to put their 2 cents in the comments later about whether I should have yet another platform in which people will never actually support me, mostly because everybody's broke.
I won't stop singing until there's world peace.
Begin.
Warning, as my guitar gently beats.
Now, let's have a look-see.
Next we have a game on Steam here called Stress Random, and I can see the beginning of the end already. We've been going about 2 hours. There is more certainly I could do with the shopping. This clearly is MS Paint level graphics, garbage. $8.99, English, Russian. Yeah. We are slightly having more Russian low effort games today than we are the general Chinese low effort games, which we've been fairly consistently getting tons and tons of Chinese low effort games over the past year or so. And like every time I click on a page, it does seem to just slow down the gameplay and the internet. Which that's not how the quality of service is supposed to work. I think inherently the problem is quality of service just does not work. None of the algorithms are good. Okay. We can do this.
You know my master?
And we can do this.
You're a big fella.
And can evolve that.
You're gonna regret this.
And
All
then we can hit
together.
that.
So, you withstood it all.
Cleansing mode.
Hit that.
Master.
And hit that. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Rhythm Stars Climbing, where it seems like you're climbing upward on these. What would you even call these zigzag paths? As a rhythm game, it's not a good concept, frankly, because you're just blocking the visuals even more than a standard rhythm game, and you're doing something even more disconnected from actually playing the music. This is early access for $9.99. Let's see. We have a game called Yuha Stolen Treasure, which looks just like a platforming garbage game. $9.74. It's kind of not surprising that there would just be garbage games from during the fall sale. There's no reason to really put out a game right now if you don't have to. Here we have a game called Diary of Lucie, Lucie, which looks like a kind of RPG Maker, actual RPG game. In a weird way, a lot of the RPG games are not actual RPG games. This is early access, $7.99 English, Korean, Japanese. I'm gonna at least put this one on the fall list, which there's been considerable lack of even doing that. See.
You will atone for wasting my time.
Okay. Let's do this. Evolve here.
Sheer hubris of a what's your price?
This.
And that concludes today's sermon.
And then this.
It was nearly done. See, here we have a game on Steam called Neon Wings Air Race, which is visually polished enough to actually look like it might be a decent racing game. Early access, $3.19. That's fairly cheap though. Put it on the fall list. Yeah, we have a game on Steam called Amazing Cultivation Simulator, which seems to almost certainly be a Chinese game of some sort. It's tagged as RPG Simulation, English and Chinese.
Perhaps you're who
See.
I've been waiting for.
See if we can get some of these
screenshots to load so we can actually see what it is. Let's see, Sleeping Dragon. I see 5 videos, which is way more than you normally see. So I'm actually kind of positive on what I'm saying here.
The real battle begins. I can't sing another note.
See, can we do this yet? Can we do this? If I do this, that'll work.
Activating system interface subroutine.
Okay. I think what I want to do is probably play this. Instead, I think I'll do that now. Alright, well, G4 TV has 167 tweets, and it feels like at least 20 of them were this over the past couple days. So Xavier Woods is now part of G4, which okay. In all fairness, getting a African American looking dark skinned character, he may not actually be American, he may just be African or of African descent. Getting someone like that does fix a big problem with G4, as it was just a bunch of white people originally, as Hollywood was mostly just white people at the time. So, and there definitely are a lot of African gamers out there, and so they can definitely potentially relate to people maybe a little bit better, maybe not. Maybe people aren't that shallow, and maybe tokenism is always a bad thing, but I think it probably does help to get a different perspective.
How meaningless.
Then they did this whole Among Us thing, and then there's just a ton of people that are being tweeted, they're being mentioned on Twitter in the hopes that you would like want to follow all of these people, a lot of these people. Remember, I did a whole deep dive of just seeing how many of the people actually went anywhere after working at G4, and the number of people was pathetically small, like kind of 2 or 3. There's also problems still with like Adam Sessler right now is let's see, he's a founder now, says, of Spike Trap IO. He has nothing to do with the company, its employees, their actions, or representation since March. So he doesn't work there anymore. And then Olivia Munn wasn't the one I was considering. Alison Houslip is an actress, so she wouldn't really have a problem. Morgan Webb is the one that also went and started their own business. Both of them are kind of in this weird position where they have jumped back and forth between working with the video game industry and working in the video game industry and being a video game critic, which personally I just don't think you can maintain your credibility jumping sides like that. It's like being a lobbyist and then being a politician or vice versa. But here you have several people, and then they brought in even more people as they were continuing to play. Let's see. Just lots and lots of tweets. Lots of stuff around Austin Creed. So he's the big celebrity. Which frankly he could just be an announcer and that's about it. What you're not really getting here is any big announcements. There is a whole Twitch video here I might sit through and watch at some point and see if something gets announced, but frankly I don't think it is. Here's Morgan Webb. Let's see. King of Spiders at Bonfire Studios, formerly a journalist, reviewer, and host, always a gamer. So if she comes back, she really can't work for Bonfire Studios. And then the rest of the people are not really on-screen talent enough. I didn't see what's his name, Kevin Pereira mentioned here. So I don't know if Kevin Pereira is coming back with G4. Honestly, it's uncertain whether any of these characters are actually coming back or if that was just all reunion and nothing but reunion. I'm about to lose. But a distinct lack of just actual announcements, a distinct lack of, hey, this channel is going to be on TV at this time, or this is going to be the sci-fi Adult Swim equivalent, or it's at this YouTube channel. We didn't really see any links or anything like that. Here's that game again, Amazing Cultivation Simulator. Oh, seriously? I had one image loaded. Yeah, by the looks of it, it seems like it is a resource management simulator game, for lack of a better description. It's rated very positively. It's $24.99. It's English and Chinese. Just because it's a simulation game and just not the style of game I would normally play, I'm gonna pass on that one. It does seem like it is a slightly different types of resource management game in the sense that there are monsters and dragons that attack you. Gamatsu has an article here. Fantasy Tavern Sextet Volume 1 New Days is coming to PC on December 15th. I'm not sure if this is an adult game, visual novel or not, but I suspect maybe it is. That's probably about the only Gamatsu article we even have today. And see, you can see WWE has GeForce signs Xavier Woods. So, like, remember, wrestling right now is just getting people on Zoom and putting their footage up and probably just having random fans or actors or random pre-recorded footage play, because there's just no way to do the social distancing at all with the wrestling. So wrestling's been suffering really, really hard. So if this G4 actually is part of a if this is a part of a bigger attempt to do something with the fan base and with the indie contractors at WWE. It's an interesting thought if we start seeing a lot more wrestlers. And it's not like there weren't wrestlers that occasionally showed up in G4 before, but it does kind of have like a nefarious thought that is this going to be a secretly run by Vince McMahon channel that is going to potentially be as run as badly as the WWE is sometimes run by, and I don't know if it's really Vince McMahon that's going to be running it as much as maybe Shane or Stephanie or Triple H or whoever actually is in charge. This article does give us an insight, though. In addition to entertaining fans and introducing Xavier Woods, Tuesday's reunion kicked off G4's Gravy-thon charity, a multi-day event featuring well-known streamers including Dr. Lupo, Chicha, and Mary Takahashi. G4 partnered with Tiltify, an online donation platform to raise money for various causes and non-profit organizations, including CodePath, Boys and Girls Club of America, which I guess is not Boy and Girl Scouts, Girls Who Code, No Kid Hungry, the National Fragile X Foundation, Black Girls Code, and Connor's Cure. I don't know what any of this is. Some of these programs are. Yeah, I wonder what the Boys and Girls Clubs are. A lot of these stigma things, though, in my opinion, are kind of pathetic and don't really do anything. Also, never heard of Tiltify. So here's Tiltify. They've raised $16,483, which I have to say is probably a pathetic amount of money. And they're getting a bunch of streamers to try and have these streamathons. I imagine part of the problem here is Big Cheese Kit in particular has not raised a single dollar. I imagine there is just not a lot of people with money at the moment, and I imagine that there's not as many people who are even that nostalgic for G4. I have to always kind of constantly remind myself that as one of the few people that specifically went out to get Dish TV, to specifically get the G4 network, I'm in the very much minority. Most people never had G4 as a channel, never watched it. Most people were probably playing video games or living their lives a lot better than trying to watch G4. So, in a weird way, if they did just play reruns of the old G4, you probably could get a whole different audience of people who hadn't seen that content, but they would be covering such old games that really wouldn't make sense.
Together we are whole.
See, it's the Sci-Fi Network is going to air it at midnight Eastern and Pacific on Friday also. So if I don't get around to watching the stream, I may just have my DVR, which even having a DVR at this point is kind of ridiculous. And like, I might just have my DVR, record it, and watch it from TV. Like, frankly, the more use I could get out of my TV would probably be better as far as the cable service. Next, we have a game on Steam here that's just all Asian characters. It's another cell phone RPG game. But we've only seen one of these, so I have to kind of applaud that. Free to play MMO, Chinese only. But I have to applaud at least we only had one. Gamatsu has an article. The game Martha is Dead adds a PS5 and PS4 version on top of being an Xbox Series and Xbox One and PC game. But I don't recall this game. Interesting. And the video is age restricted, which makes you log into YouTube, which, why am I not logged into YouTube? That's weird. Wonder if we start seeing a lot more of stuff like that where things are age restricted, quote unquote, so that you have to log into YouTube.
Gotcha.
I think I played pretty terribly there. Let's see, Tech Raptor has an article here. Street Fighter Duel mixes up gameplay in China this month, which this is some kind of like cell phone game with Street Fighter characters, some kind of like gotcha RPG or something. Or it's just a cell phone game. Beat 'em up. That might work. I don't think Street Fighter is really accomplishing anything for a long time, so them trying something different is probably not a terrible idea. Yeah, it does kind of feel like it is a time-based, maybe turn-based RPG. Then they'll have to decide whether they're going to try and bring it to the West, and if they were smart, they probably would. I think that's going to be it for today. Good news is we got everything except for the temporary gems and 2 out of the 3 daily quests. So everything is a very relative term in the sense that we basically got nothing other than the animated card skins. But yeah. I don't think I want to play anymore. I've been shown that there's a lot more work to do today. Here we have a game called Loop, which literally looks like an acid flip game where you just go in loops, and maybe there is a like a joke narrative going around it, but probably not that interesting. It's English full audio. This is one of those games where you'd want like PewDiePie to play it, or they would hope that PewDiePie would play it to give them some attention. Tech Raptor has an article. A mysterious Pokemon, quote, V-Star trademark has been filed by Nintendo. As in, like, a virtual tuber, maybe? Yeah, I don't know if Pokemon even matters, no, frankly. Like, so many people are just not enthused by the most recent Pokemon game, and they really don't feel like they've been able to bring back the core Pokemon audience or build a new Pokemon audience around that mistake. So that might very well have just been a very big blow to the Pokemon empire. Tech Raptor has an article here. Games Planet is having an Xmas 2020 sale, which, okay. I don't buy games on Games Planet, but I don't know if you get Steam codes from Games Planet or not, but they're advertising. And I imagine Tech Raptor's getting paid to advertise that, but in all fairness, also Tech Raptor's got very little to say. Which brings us to the next Tech Raptor article. Magic the Gathering Bob Ross cards are coming. No, really. Which the Secret Lair has just gotten insanely ridiculous. They're just selling land cards with custom art, and I bet they're selling them at an incredibly insane markup. I'm so glad I'm not playing Magic the Gathering Arena anymore, just for the greediness of Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, but yeah, they certainly haven't learned their lessons. Here we have a game called Yoglin's Christmas is Coming, which is tagged as an adventure indie RPG. Couch co-op, choose your own adventure that puts you and your loved ones in the role of Santa's elves in a mad dash to prepare for Christmas Eve for $8.99, English only. There is some visual polish here, but I don't know if you'd really want to own a Christmas game unless you're so obsessed with Christmas you're playing Christmas games the year round. And at the price of $8.99, I'm not really seeing any gameplay that would justify that price. This feels like a $4 game at most. Let's see. Next we have a game called Alyssa Quest, which by the look of the bikini clad lady, you can pretty much tell that this is probably one of these RPG Maker games where they've thrown in some sex scenes and then they've taken out the sex scenes to sell it on Steam. $10.39, English and Chinese. Nothing really more needs to be said. CEO of YouTube, as terrible as she is, has decided to congratulate a single person, Roberta Blake, for passing 490,000 subscribers. And more importantly, what I was going to talk about is YouTube France is partnering with RT France and LECNC to support French creative ecosystem, including cultural institutions and learning creators like Muse Lovers and eSpace Science. Read more about #Saviors Culture. But weirdly, like, of course, YouTube's not going to support any creators anywhere, particularly in the European Union, as they are more and more just trying to rip off creators and put ads on their content and pay them nothing now, which we still have yet to really see that happen, but that doesn't start until the new year, and I imagine it's going to start pretty crazily. Here we have a game, check out the article. Pure Arts is developing a physical Assassin's Creed Valhalla Orlog game, which I guess means that they're building the actual physical thing. Yeah, which shipping will put Pure Arts out of business if they try to do that. That's a really bad idea. All this, and nobody needs more garbage. Gamasutra has a blog here. Does Apple's 15% platform cut change the game? Knowing Gamasutra, the answer is almost certainly going to be no, because Gamasutra is totally the cast. That's totally the opinion of Gamasutra, is that they hate Apple more than they hate Epic, when they should probably be hating everybody. The bottom line here is I think this is ultimately a problem of capitalism. It goes like this: company gets there first and maybe even does a good job, takes market share for their platform and generates excessive profits, is a company, and so answers to the shareholders and not the community developers. Well, inherently, if you can fix capitalism in general just by disallowing shareholders. It's just that simple. Disallowing companies to be so big that they need shareholders, so that everything is privately owned, and then taxation of 100%, in my opinion, over certain levels, certain tax tiers, so that individuals that own companies can't just make tons of money and sit on piles and hordes of billions upon billions of dollars, which inherently, that is the problem, is that the top 100 richest people are getting richer by the second because they have become the shareholders of other companies. So rich people that own, say, Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos, he is not only making Amazon.com less of a good company, he's literally making all companies in the United States less of good companies because he's a shareholder, undoubtedly a major shareholder in many, many other companies. And so the company that has to quote unquote answer the shareholders, which really they don't. They can tell them to screw off if they want to. But those companies that feel they have to answer the shareholders are literally answering to Jeff Bezos. And then they say, here, there is no easy fix. I just gave the easy fix. All companies must be private. 100% taxation after $1 billion. Solves your problem right there. It's a simplistic minded solution. 100% taxation over $1 trillion for every company. So that way the companies, instead of paying the CEO $1 billion a year and then buying a $1 trillion new facility, you say no, that doesn't work either. Just have a maximum amount of money that someone can make. Otherwise, they are at that point criminally filthy, literally filthy rich and need to be taxed or potentially thrown in jail if they don't pay their taxes. Last article we have potentially here. Controller use on Steam has more than doubled since 2018. That's not surprising. More and more casual gamers, people who would have played with controllers for a significant amount of time over the past decade, will want that familiarity. And certainly that's the case for me too, is that I love to play games with a controller. I don't like to have to use a mouse and keyboard unless it's something like a point and click adventure where it's slow enough and it makes sense, or a collectible card game where dragging and dropping makes a lot more sense than playing with a controller. Playing this game with a controller would be kind of crazy. And so we don't have any Humble Bundle things. And the autumn sale is putting some of these Sega games on sale. I'm going to go through my Twitter feed, and then on Friday, hopefully, if I remember, and I should remember, I will voted for the Steam Awards to nominate some games, and then I will go through the shopping list and think about what I'm going to buy. Tech Raptor has an article here. Cuphead, the delicious last course, which is DLC, has been delayed until 2021. Which, all right. The mist for Oculus Quest has gone gold. Gamma Sutra has a blog, The Impact of Video Game Criticism. We may look at that. Remnant from the Ashes, sales top 2.5 million. That's a surprisingly high number. Let's see. CD Projekt Red sales remain strong despite Cyberpunk delay, according to TechRaptor. Let's see. Microsoft Flight Simulator upgrades the US with more detail, according to TechRaptor. TechRaptor says Newtalker's Black Friday sales are here. Newtalker being the Pornhub parent company owned adult game store. That none of their games are particularly good, from what I can tell. Let's see. scrolling down. Scrolling down. Trying to see. 70% off all the Guacamelee games and Mutant Blobs Attack. See, this is going to be a pure case where, because I follow some of the publishers and developers, I'll see their games being announced on sale, but I'll also miss out on a lot of things if I go that way. And that's just not the best way to actually shop on Steam anyways, just via Twitter. It's much easier to have a good follow list, have a good playlist. That's the whole point of me spending so much time maintaining a follow list and a playlist. Alright, well, let's see. Was there anything that I needed to mention? The Xbox Games with Gold December is packed with wilderness according to TechRaptor. And you have The Raven, Bleed 2, Saints Row, Get Out of Hell, and Stacking, which I've covered Stacking on my channel. I haven't played The Raven. That one caught my attention. And then we have a Gamatsu article here. A card battle RPG Deck of Ashes is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and Switch in Q2 of 2021. Okay. Yep. And I think that's all we need to talk about. So that's going to be it for the stream. I think my quality of service helped a little bit, but there certainly are some other things that need to be adjusted. I need to probably reduce everything except for streaming down to a lower priority from maximum, and I probably need to reduce just the overall amount of bandwidth I think I have. Anyways, that's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gives me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.